Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and participants, good morning and welcome to the 17th Multi-Disciplinary Seminar, organized and sponsored by DRACMO, Research and Management Office of St. Mary's University. And I'm extremely privileged and honored to be your Master of Ceremony for today. We are gathered here at the American Corner on the main campus in Addis Ababa to engage in meaningful discussions that will advance our understanding of various pressing issues. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for taking the time to be here today, especially our distinguished speakers, facilitators, who have traveled from various places and institutions to share their valuable insights. To kick off our seminar, I would like to invite Dr. Wenderson Tamarat, the founder and president of St. Mary's University, to deliver the opening speech. Dr. Wenderson has been a pivotal force in the academic community and recognized not only for the leadership, but also for the remarkable contributions to the research. To be very particular, I'm thrilled to share that Dr. Wenderson has recently been named a 2024 top scholar by Scholar GPS. This prestigious recognition highlights his strong publication, his outstanding performance across various fields, disciplines, and specialties. With a strong publication record and the significant impact of his work, Dr. Wenderson ranks in the top 0.5% of all scholars worldwide, according to the latest rankings. Please join me in giving a round of applause for Dr. Wenderson Tamarat for his relentless efforts and remarkable achievements. We are eager to hear his thoughts on the importance of research and innovation in our society. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Wenderson Tamarat to the stage.
Good morning to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and participants. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 17th Multidisciplinary Seminar organized and sponsored by St. Mary's University. Thank you all for joining us for this important annual event. Let me especially begin by extending a special word of welcome to all of you who have traveled to be with us today, especially those who have come from across Addis Ababa and from various regions beyond the capital. Your presence here is a strong testament to the value of shared inquiry and collaboration across institutional and geographical boundaries. We are truly honored by your participation. This seminar represents a tradition we at St. Mary's University are proud to have nurtured for the past 17 years. Through commitment and continuity, it has become a respected platform for academic exchange and critical reflection, benefiting not only our university, but also a growing network of researchers, students, practitioners, and institutional stakeholders. Its diversity of themes, as represented in its name of Multidisciplinary Seminar, this year is no exception. We are addressing a wide range of contemporary issues, including technological innovation, digitalization, economic topics such as inflation, rural poverty, and balance of payments, as well as the dynamics of small and medium enterprises, e-marketing, and the legal frameworks that support financial systems. Equally important are discussions on education and social issues, including factors that affect student learning outcomes and the role of social work in empowering women. This breadth of themes is not coincidental. It's rather intentional and strategic, designed to respond to the diverse interests and backgrounds of our audience here. By embracing a multidisciplinary approach, the seminar creates space for researchers, academics, and professionals from various fields to engage meaningfully and contribute insights that are both relevant and actionable. We're especially pleased to welcome presenters from a wide range of institutions, as it has been the case in the past. St. Mary's University, of course, but also Arba Minch University, Warabe University, Bahar Dar University, Woldia University, and Madawalabu University, alongside representatives from JTA Ethiopia and the Consortium for Climate Change for Ethiopia. This rich mix of private and public institutions illustrates the growing recognition that collaboration across sectors is essential for producing research that matters and delivering impact at a larger scale. Looking ahead, we hope to compile selected research presentations into formal proceedings and policy briefs with the aim of informing not only academic discourse, but also contributing to evidence-based policy making and practical decision making. We believe this is an important way to ensure that the insights generated here today continue to be useful and accessible beyond this event. Before I conclude, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Research and Knowledge Management Office and its head, Assistant Professor Matthias at St. Mary's University, for their dedication and effort in organizing this seminar. I also thank all presenters, faculty and administrative staff, MCs, whose contributions have made today's gathering possible. To all participants and guests, once again, thank you for joining us. I wish you an engaging, productive, and insightful day. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and fellow researchers, it is my great pleasure to invite our chairperson for today's forum, Dr. Manaya Abdullah, to the stage. Dr. Manaya holds a PhD from the Addis Ababa University and has been a leading voice in the applied development psychology and related fields. His expertise and insights will guide our discussions today. I'd also like to acknowledge our rapporteur, Associate Professor Daniel Zaudi, who will be documenting our key takeaways and ensuring that our thoughts are well documented. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Manaya Abdullah and Associate Professor Daniel Zaudi. Thank you.
The first session, which I'm going to chair, is going to have 3 papers. The 3 presenters will come to the podium in order, and the first presenter actually is our staff, Wendosen Talahun. Wendosen, please come to the podium for making a presentation of your research. Wendosen is a faculty in St. Mary's University, affiliated to Marketing Management Department. He's going to make a presentation of his work entitled as Unlocking Mediation of Technological Innovation, Capability on Performance Outcomes of Emerging and Traditional Strategic Orientations in Ethiopian Manufacturers. Structural Equation Modeling Approach is going to be presented by Wendosen.
Before I move on to my presentation, first of all, I would like to thank our President for his insightful remark on today's conference, and it sets a tone of and the importance of our this presentation. And on top of that, I would like to forward my salute for the President's distinguished guests and all other participants in this session. And before I move on to directly move to my presentation, first of all, I would like to appreciate the organizing committee for preparing this session to have the opportunity to exchange our academic outputs or products. I'm Wendosen Talahun. I'm a staff of marketing department. I'm a senior lecturer in marketing department, and currently I'm pursuing my PhD in Arba Minch University. So let's move on to my presentation. The topic of my study is on unlocking the mediation of technological innovation capability on performance outcome of emerging and traditional strategic orientation in Ethiopian manufacturers, structural cohesion modeling. So basically, the purpose of this study is just to unlock how strategic orientations influence firm performance, and I'm also engaged to present how technological innovation capability mediate this relationship. So my presentation comprises the following 6 main points: background of the study, statement of the problem, and then research objective and conceptual framework, and then methodology. Finally, key finding and recommendation will be presented. So when it comes to the first part, globally manufacturing sector or large-scale manufacturers play a significant role in the economic development of countries. At the same time, it becomes a source of innovation, employment opportunities, and even a source of sustainable development. The same is true for Ethiopian large-scale manufacturers, and recently it shows considerably, it shows some progress. And this progress also supported by national plans like GTP1, GTP2, different industrial policies, and basically the current policy, which is determined by the current regimes, which is called homegrown economic reform, take it as the main point of the main strategic pillar of the government to increase the economic performance of the country. And so in this case, this sector contributes for the development of innovation, employment opportunity, just like the global market, and they also become a source of foreign exchange. But despite the fact that these large-scale manufacturers also deal with various and multifarious challenges. For example, pressure from globalization, globalization, rapid technological changes. Basically, this also from the global market, the shifting customer needs, especially the current customers in Ethiopia they are savvy and they have well thought out information about the market. So in this case, companies have been dealing with multifarious difficulties to undertake their business in this sector. And besides that, as we all know, government currently incorporates different structural transformation, and this structural transformation may have so many importance to the sector, and at the same time it will come up with some challenges. So in this case, we urge that in these kinds of market, the companies need to come up with or incorporate internal capabilities or strategic capability to align themselves with the changes and to cope up with the current changes in the market. So in this case, existing scholars recommend that strategic orientation becomes one of the panacea to deal with these kinds of situations. So in this case, strategic orientation means it is a firm predisposition, a firm philosophy, or basically it is the fundamental principles that shape the behavior and the activities of companies. And basically it influences how the companies determine their strategy and how they implement their strategy. So in this case, there are four major strategic orientations that I'm going to incorporate in my study, and I have tried to divide this strategic orientation into two. The first two are traditional orientation, and the second categories are called emerging orientation. As you see here, the sustainability orientation and digital orientation are under the emerging orientation because they are the very element of the current mega trend that shape the world today. And at the same time, I have used the traditional strategic orientation.
The next presenter is from Waldia University, Getachew Kabbede.
Good morning, all of you. Thank you, SMU University, to give this chance. My title is Mediator Role of Institutional Quality and Infrastructure, ICT Infrastructure on Financial Development and Economic Growth in East African Countries. My name is Getachew Kabbede from Waldia University. and a PhD candidate at Jimma University, and a part-time worker at Addis Ababa University, and PhD mobility affiliation at Rennes University, France. Outlines of my presentation, as usual, is background of the study, statement of the problem, objective, conceptual framework, data and methodology, results and discussion. Finally, a summary, conclusion, recommendation, and future research avenue we'll discuss. Let's start from the first part, background, about the grounding theory of finance and growth. The first theory is finance and growth nexus theory. It says that financial development drives economic growth. And the other theory also says that financial inclusion theory. This says that accessible financial service reduce inequality. The third one is institutional theory. Governance and legal framework shapes financial outcome. The other also ICT diffusion theory. ICT bridges the financial access gap and stimulates development. So this, based on this theory, when we try to see the global perspective, financial development is a crucial driver of economic growth that enables efficient resource allocation, risk management, and also it facilitates higher GDP by mobilizing saving and foster investment. The same is true in regional insights. East Africa showcases driver impact of financial development, like countries Kenya, Rwanda, leverage technology for financial inclusion. Other maybe because of weak institutional framework. And this mixed results highlight for a need a context-specific analysis of analysis. When we came to national perspective, Kenya exemplify for transformative financial innovation like mobile money, which enhance economic participation. In contrast, when we see Burundi and Sudan face a challenge, embedded financial development benefit. From this, it needs a policy implication, which we align this issue with Sustainable Development Goals and African 2063 agendas, and also implement a targeted reform address weak institution, infrastructure, and technology. So it's important. The issue is very important for fostering sustainable economic growth in East Africa. So this study tries to address the relationship between financial development and economic growth with mediator role of institutional quality and ICT. When we came to statement of the problem, as we have said, financial development is essential for economic growth. So the study examines the mediator role of institutional quality and ICT infrastructure, but there is a limited research on this issue, limited empirical study on the impact of digital finance on financial inclusion and economic growth, efficient exploration of how institutional quality mediate the relation between financial development and economic growth. The relation between financial development and economic growth is also complex and disparate in institutional because of institutional quality and ICT, which hinders regional progress. So the other statement, the other part of this issue, institutional quality as a mediator, strong if there is strong institution, which enhance effective financial policies. If there is weak, can negatively affect financial development. ICT infrastructure also an issue here. ICT infrastructure facilitate access to finance, promote inclusivity, effective digital finance conjunct upon ICT system. Addressing mediator role of institutional quality and ICT is vital for sustainable development. So the aim of this study is to address this one. Let's summarize the research gap. It's at least 6 research gaps as I identified. Issue gap, limited empirical studies about the 3 variable interaction. That means financial development and economic growth is mediator role. There is no study, so this study tries to address this issue. The second one is method gap. The study uses advanced econometric study, pulled mean group. Also, there is also theory gap. context gap and level of analysis gap. So this study tries to still level of analysis gap is not addressed by this paper is a limitation. I'll put at the end of this presentation. Time gap also another issue. Previous study this study uses long panel data while the other is short.
When come to another directive that is called authorization of payment system operators. This is called like payment switch, ATM operator, POS operator, and online payment gateway operators. So, so this is also are considering that National Bank of Ethiopia has already granted them license to offer banking systems. So when come to the other directive in our legal system, that is financial consumer protection. This is also the consumer is well not protected under this proclamation, especially digital credit is not covered under this proclamation. Also, the directive is not electronic money, giving electronic money, digital currency, and digital payment is also not well regulated under this proclamation because it is mostly focusing on traditional banking systems. In addition, legal protection given to consumer of digital financial services minimum. Since the directive is unfamiliar with a financial service provider like fintechs.
As you know, in institutional economics, there is a theory called that compares colonial institution against indigenous institutions. The countries you choose are East African countries, and Ethiopia is unique. The institutions in Ethiopia are indigenous institutions. So did you see the contrast between these colonial institutions and indigenous institutions? The other question is, how did you measure institutional quality? You know, institutional quality is measured upon 6 major variables: the rule of law, property right, and other variables. So, how did you capture this? And it's not a question, it's an opinion. You choose 2 major mediating variables. ICT by its own is now a major variable, and institutional quality is also a major variable that affects economic growth. So what's the rationale behind choosing these 2 major variables as a mediator? To Metagas, it's a very interesting topic. You raised proclamations that guide fintech. In my understanding, I'm not a law person, but in my understanding, these proclamations mainly are devised to create trust or confidence among the consumers, right? But the government now mandates the use of fintech in some services. So how did you see this?
Thank you.
Concerning variable measurement, financial development is measured using index. Index, by the way, there are 2 issues in financial development. There is market issue on one side. There is institution issue on the other side. This also, it has depth, access, efficiency, stability. Using, there are 109 indicators which is listed in World Bank and Global Financial Database. So extracting from that and one index is developed, financial development index. This is developed by some one author. So I use that indexed one to measure financial development. To measure economic growth, GDP per capita has taken. The rest 2 variable, institutional quality, there are 6 major indicators of institutional quality: rule of law, good governance, accountability, and transparency.
The questions raised as the levels of financial development, how African countries look like in that regard by changing the...
Yeah, I will come up. And kabab 6 variables. Then index using principal component. I have constructed institutional index using these variables. ICT also, I take 9 variables from a well-known source, and then using principal component analysis, I construct ICT index. Then I have financial development, economic growth, ICT index, and institutional quality index, and then using the pooled mean group, I regress separately. Status of financial development, institutional quality, ICT, it's not, it's better to see, but it's not my scope. In another way, by the way, Ethiopian financial sector, especially financial market, is low, too low.
It's not your scope.
Yeah. U-shaped is obvious. The curve is U-shaped. There is negative inverse relationship when it's down, and then some point reach some point, and then a direct relationship that shows that. That way, institutional quality already I've answered, and doctor colonization and non-colonization institution I haven't seen. I'll grasp for next. How to measure? Rational. It's a contemporary issue. Without institution and ICT infrastructure, it's unthinkable about financial development and economic growth. That's why I incorporated in my study institutional quality and ICT.
Thank you for this presentation. The first question is, the two researchers developed similar models. When the SMU used the structural approaching model and Getachew used the starter, why you prefer and opted this model? Can you justify it? The first question. The second question is, when lesson, I think due to the limitation of time, I'm very much interested in the quantitative analysis. Before recommendation, there was one model, the Robertson's model. That model showed that the controlling variables are linked with the dependent variable. I think to show the robustness of the model, I think that control variables give you robustness to that model. Would you please give us some highlights on the model? Getachew, when you mention about your model, there is bidirectional relationship between the two. I think that means it has its own endogeneity problem. Right? How can you solve it? It is not a problem for your research, that endogeneity. That is all. Thank you.
Structural equation model were recommended when the researcher have a latent variables, which means the variable that couldn't directly measured by a specific variable. So in this case, I have used, because almost all of my variables are latent variables. The other reason is a structural equation model helps you to undertake a complex analysis than other models like regression models. So as you know, I have used technological innovation capability as a mediator. So in this case, to undertake this analysis, it helps me a lot to manage the analysis.
Now it's time for health break, and it's time for you to hydrate, refresh, and relate with people. And we are going to do 15 minutes, exactly 15 minutes, and we are going to come back after 15 minutes and have a good time.
Thank you. I try to run through time. The title of my work is Inflation Dynamics and its Determinants in Ethiopia from the period 1983 up to 2022. I'm Tagay Nuguse. I am working in Molde University as a lecturer, and I am now currently I am PhD student at Arba Minch University. Thank you. These are the presentation outlines. the presentation, the first presentation outline is introduction of the work. It is inflation, and it can be defined as inflation is a sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services, and it is a complex economic phenomena with a long history. It is measured by percentage change in price indexes such as consumer price index and producer price indexes, while moderate inflation can stimulate economic growth and reduce the real value of debt. High inflation can have detrimental effects because high inflation disproportionately impacts low-income countries like Ethiopia. What are the causes of inflation? There are two causes of inflation. These are demand pull inflation, occurs when demand exceeds supply, allowing business to raise price. And the second one is cost push inflation, arises from increased production costs such as raw materials, labor, or transportations. What inflation in Ethiopia looks like? Ethiopia experienced low inflation rates in the past, but double-digit inflation has become increasingly worrisome in recent years. The average annual inflation rate was 2.5% before 2004, but increased to 15.1 after 2004. In 2020, inflation surged again nearly 30% due to COVID-19 disruptions, the Tigray conflict, and global commodity price shocks. The main driver of short-term inflation is the surge in money supply, accounting for 40% of the increase. Food price inflation has been a significant factor in the deterioration of welfare in Ethiopia. Government financing of deficits, often through borrowing, has contributed to inflationary pressure. High inflation remains a pressing concern for policymakers and society in Ethiopia and developing countries.
Results and discussion. These are the values of the variables, descriptive statistics results of the variables, which are presented in logarithmic form. The first one is log of consumer price index. The second one is external debits. And the third one is exchange rates, money supply, oil price, and real GDP are presented here in their descriptive forms. Okay, after doing their descriptive behavior, the next step is test, unit root test. Unit root test is a statistical procedure used to determine whether a time series variable is non-stationary, has a unit root. So in order to do this, as I mentioned in the methodology part, a augmented decoupler test for stationary was used, and based on this, our variables, a unit root is estimated in the above reveals that consumer price index, external debit, exchange rate, money supply, and oil price have a unit root at the first difference, but real GDP has a unit root at a level. So based on this, we are supposed to use RDL model, and the stars are showing the significant level at different statistical probability, 10, 5, and 1%. Okay, then and the ACAC information criteria is to determine the lag length while testing stationary of all variables. And after doing this, the next step is analyzing using the model. The model is a RDL model. So in order to know the long run and short run relationships of variables, there is a need of testing it. This test is called bound test for co-integration. So based on bound test for co-integration, our test shows that the variables have long run and short run relationship. So we have two estimation methods. These are the bound test for co-integration. So this is significant, 7.34245, which is larger than the upper bound, and even at 1% significant level. This shows that our variables have a long run relation. This is RDL model. Based on the RDL model, the dependent variable is consumer price index. The other ones are independent variable. In this case,
out of the independent variables that are assumed to be the factors for inflation. As the first one is lag price index, which is significant at 1%, and oil price also significant at 1%, and money supply also significant at 1%, and exchange rate was significant at 10% probability level and had a positive effect, and the real GDP had a negative effect on inflation, and it was significant at 10% probability level. Diagnostic tests also were done. These are the error term are normally distributed, which is done by using the Jacobi-Miller test, and the residual terms in the model are serially independent and no heteroscedasticity problem, and the other one is error correction model has no specification errors. And after doing this, the next step is doing the short run effects of these variables on inflation. So short run error correction model was done. As we know, the error correction term indicates the speed of adjustment to restore to the equilibrium in the dynamics model. The coefficient of the error correction term indicates how quickly variables are converged to equilibrium. Moreover, it should have a negative sign and statistically significant at a standard significant level. P-value should be less than 0.5. So based on this table shows the short run equilibrium. The short run error correction model result, the same thing is happen here. The lag price is significant at 1% probability level, and exchange rate also significant, but it is at 10% probability level. Oil price also significant and affect positively at 10% probability level. Money supply also found a significant factor for inflation in the short run at 5% probability level, and the error correction term was 0.73709, and the error correction was this one, and moreover the coefficient of the error correction implies that the deviation from the long run equilibrium level of inflation in the current period is corrected by 37.09% in next period to bring back equilibrium where there is a shock to steady state relationship when all other things are kept constant. If there are different reasons, it may not be happen. So this one is interpreted in the table. So conclusions, the results of the analysis revealed that in the long run, broad money supply, oil price, lagged consumer price index, and real exchange rates were contributed in rising consumer price index, while real domestic product was found a decreasing factors of consumer price index or inflation. In short run, error correction coefficient estimated was negative 0.3709 and significant at 5% probability level and has recommended. The lagged value of consumer price index, real exchange rates, international oil price, and money supply were variables that affect inflation in the short run significantly. In general, it can be concluded that, as empirical result reveals, that inflation in Ethiopia has affected by different factors that are analyzed in this work. And the next one is a recommendation. Based on the findings, the researcher would like to recommend the following. The first one is tightening monetary policy. And the second one is address structural factors, actively address structural factors contributing to inflation inertia, such as supply chain bottlenecks, insufficient markets, and weak regulatory frameworks. This will require a comprehensive approach involving reform across various sectors and promote stable exchange rate, avoid unnecessary currency devaluation as it increases the cost of imported goods and fuels inflation, and instead focus enhancing export competitiveness to ensure devaluation, if needed, has a positive impact. And transition to renewable energy, prioritize the development and adoption of renewable energy sources, particularly for transportation and other oil-dependent activities. This will reduce the impact of global oil price on domestic inflation. The other one is strengthening collaboration, enhance coordination and data sharing between different governmental economic policy institutions. This will enable more effective policy response to inflation, leading to more informed decision makings.
My subtitle is Rural Poverty in Ethiopia, Challenges and Sustainable Pathways. So, when we define poverty, extreme poverty is defined as income below $2.515 according to the World Bank report of 2022. So among Ethiopian populations, among the rural Ethiopian population, 47.5% of the rural population gets below $2.15 each day. So they are considered as living in extreme poverty. So over the 70% of Ethiopia's population resides in the rural areas. So this makes rural poverty a concerning major challenge for our country. In rural areas of Ethiopia, people depend on rain-fed agriculture for their livelihood. So the general aim of this research is to investigate the root causes of rural poverty and explore sustainable pathways. So this is synthesized through appropriate research materials, policy reviews, and grey literature. So from this comprehensive review, we have found that the rural poverty sources can be generally categorized into three. The first one is inefficient natural resource management. The second one is ineffective public administration. And the third one is approach or attitude towards agriculture. So we will see each one of them one by one. When we see inefficient natural resource management, efficient natural resource management is linked to higher agricultural production, and which means higher income. So several papers link inefficient natural resource management to poverty, to rural poverty. So basically, soil conservation and agricultural specialization are the major aspects for enhancing the rural development. So let us see soil conservation. So annually, in Ethiopia, 1.9 billion tons of soil is eroded. So this is a high amount of soil. So land rehabilitation can reduce this soil erosion and can enhance crop production, and again, which can increase farm income. So according to Fanta and Gilo, these positive influences of land rehabilitation, interest in land rehabilitation activities include shorter farm distance to home, positive perception of land rehabilitation, and access to education can enhance people's interest or farmers' interest to participate in land rehabilitation activities. When we see negative influences of interests of farmers to participate in land rehabilitation activities, old age of household aids. When farmers are having older age, their interest in land rehabilitation activities declines. And also livestock ownership decreases the interest in land rehabilitation activities because farmers prioritize livestock income over the soil conservation projects. So recommendations are use-based interventions. So we have to involve more use in natural resource or soil rehabilitation projects. And also targeted trainings for crop producers to participate more on land rehabilitation activities. The other aspect is agricultural specialization. So when agriculture is more specialized, it means more economic returns. So Ethiopia's diverse ecosystems provide valuable services. So according to Brook, he investigated the relationship between agricultural specialization and long-distance marketing. So more specialized farmers sell their products over long distance of markets. So agricultural specialization is also an important aspect to enhance or to reduce rural poverty. In addition, Ethiopia's diverse landscape defines certain agricultural production potentials. One aspect in agricultural specialization is currently shown in geographical areas known as marginal grabens. So as you can see from the picture, marginal grabens is the lowland, which is faulted land. So this type of land contains eroded soils that are very loam soils, which are highly suitable for crop production. So if we are going to specialize crop production in these marginal graben types of lands, we will get higher amount of crop production. So marginal grabens, in addition to loam soil, they are rich in water resources. So many of Western Ethiopia's marginal grabens can be crop production corridors to enhance the crop production. In addition, when we use these marginal grabens, its overutilization of surface and groundwater should be used carefully because it may lead to river basin closures. So we have to use it properly. The other is ineffective public administration. Ineffective public administration is also one source of rural poverty, according to these authors. Problems in agricultural extension service, infrastructure, and land tenure security are examples of this ineffective public administration. When we come to this aspect of agricultural extension service, access to agricultural extension service is critical to enhance knowledge, technologies, and best practices to farmers. In strengthening this agricultural extension can enhance farmer productivity, enhance resilience, climate variability, and promote sustainability. While the general truth reveals this fact, agricultural officers believe that they are using effective communication. Researchers show contradictory results. The agricultural officers believe that they are delivering proper amount of agricultural extension service. However, farmers or actual researchers show contradictory results. A study by Malako conducted at Amara Regional Agricultural Institute found that farmers struggle to implement necessary extension activities due to lack of agricultural inputs, limited access to extension workers over long periods. In addition, women are also neglected in the agricultural extension services, and also budgets were also mentioned for causes of fewer contacts between extension service and farmers. To solve this problem, an innovative approach was used by LETA, which is social learnings. So to reduce the budget of contacting extension service with farmers, we use social learning through EDDIR, DEVO, and so on to make contact between extension service workers and farmers during these social gatherings. Another innovative approach is participatory research activities. So involving farmers in the participatory research activities can help farmers learn from the ongoing research. So this could be a solution for budget issues in the extension services. The other is infrastructure for resettlers. So resettlement programs have been used to address land degradation, food insecurity in many rural areas. However, resettled farmers have a lot of infrastructure issues, so this should be addressed to make this resettlement program effective. The other is land tenure security. Land tenure system plays crucial role in shaping agricultural development outcomes in Ethiopia. When land tenure is secured, farmers often are interested in long-term investments. So we have to ensure that land tenure is secured. A study by Malessa revealed that the tenure security positively significantly affects household activity in general and marginally significant for female-headed households. The other is approach or attitude towards agriculture. So most of the time, farmers see agriculture as a subsistent food source for their livelihood, but they are not aiming for market. So this is also one challenge for the development of agricultural business. So willingness to participate in agricultural development and adopting non-farm businesses were suggested in this regard. So willingness of farmers to participate in agricultural development projects is highly positively influenced by positively influenced by women income. Having an animal for transportation and owning a mobile phone is positively correlated with willingness to participate in agricultural development projects. And also developing non-farm businesses in rural areas can be one reducing factor for rural poverty. So strategic investments in rural infrastructure and agro-industrial development can enhance competitiveness of rural economies to contribute to poverty reduction. Tourism can be also best choices for non-farm activities in rural areas. A study by Wayesa showed that coffee tourism can improve the livelihood of farmers in the southwest Ethiopia. So this indicates comparative advantages in different parts of the country, which may support to reduce rural poverty. So when I come to the conclusion, rural poverty in Ethiopia is complex and multidimensional challenge. This includes low agricultural productivity, insecure land tenure, underperforming public institutions, weak extension systems, and limited livelihood diversification. The findings emphasize that while agriculture continues to be the backbone of the rural economy, its contribution to poverty alleviation is constrained by many factors, as I mentioned before. Let me come to the recommendations. Promote soil conservation practices with active community participation, focusing on use. Prioritize marginal grabants for sustainable irrigation development with proper environmental safeguards. Strengthen demand-driven and participatory extension and innovation systems. Ensure land tenure security as well as strengthen traditional land use institutions. Encourage non-farm income-generating activities such as agro-processing, ecotourism, and rural enterprises. Support rural entrepreneurship with microfinance, skills training, and business development services. And leverage comparative advantages such as coffee tourism to enhance local communities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Nelson, for your informative presentation as well as in-time presentation on rural poverty in Ethiopia. Thank you very much.
So my topic starts with the dynamics of Ethiopian balance of payment, determinants and policy implications, ARDL model. To begin with, the outline with some one-page introduction with what is my objective to achieve to do this research and the key trends that is with part of the methodology part and the key findings. And most important thing, what we achieve from this research, policy recommendations and conclusions and future research, what is the gap and limitation of this research. So with a simple introduction to begin, what is balance of payment, which is a record of all financial transactions between Ethiopia and the rest of the world, that is the revenues and the out of the payments which the country is going to make. That is the balance of payment, and it is a critical issue for a given country, and it is also critical for Ethiopians due to chronic deficits throughout the country's history, not mentioning the current situation. If you follow the current media, in history, the country achieved, I think, the balance of payment with the surplus. If you heard last week from the media. So, but this research is with that of 2023, which I didn't include 1 year back because of limitations of the data. I just consider with the international data. So the international data, the World Bank, it is the limitation of, I can't find the data out to 2023. So after mentioning this, so currently it is changing the balance of payment. I want to address this one. So this deficit is a major issues, including with reserve depletions, inflations, and debit crisis. What is the research gap? What is the important point that I want to do this research is to determine with the direct determinants and indirect determinants. With the direct determinants, with that of the balance of trade, and with that of the foreign direct investment, which directly touch the balance of payments, and indirectly with the foreign exchange and the GDP part, which is the country's gross domestic product. And consequently, there is a lack of recent analysis on the balance of payment situations and consider this destination. So as an introduction, I want to say this, and the objective I want to achieve is analyze the direct and indirect determinants, what are the variables that affect the balance of payments directly. Not only these variables, but for this research, I consider these limited variables. There are other different variables. We will consider it in the future that way. Specific objectives, assess short-run and long-run effects using ARDL models, how these variables affect the balance of payments in the short-run term, in the long-run terms, and most importantly, how we tell the government as a policy recommendation, because this balance of payment is a very crucial and important variable. Methodology that I have used, which is ARDL model, and which is used for a mixed order integration with the level and with that of order 1. And the data, national banks, World Bank, and IMF, which starts from 1990 to 2023. And the dependent variable that I have used is balance of payment. Independent variables, the balance of trade for indirect investment, which is in the part of direct impact, and which is that of in the direct impact, which I have used the foreign, the exchange rate, which is a very crucial, and without of the GDP. And the diagnostic tests that I have used is unit test, configuration bound test, autocorrelations, heteroscedasticities. These all pointers has considered. To consider what are the trends of these variables, with that of the balance of payments throughout my data, as you can see from this trend, it is ups and downs throughout these last more than 13 years. So this is the trend, and the persistent deficits was worst in 2022, which is accounted to $2.1 billion due to conflict that has achieved at that time and with that of the COVID-19. So this is the trend of balance of payment, and with that of balance of trade, always negative. So what I want to try to mention in the introduction part, in history, this year the government reported it is a positive balance of payment surplus. I think it is with that of with a difference of $3 billion or something like that. So it is in history touched, but my data stops in 2023. So all these years it achieved, it is a negative result, and peaked at $12 billion in 2023. And immediately the government is telling us it is shifted to a positive balance of surplus. So we'll see it in the future that way. So for indirect investment peaked at $4.3 billion 2022, but it shows as a very volatile part, and with the recent years it increases with that of mentioned result, but it stays at $4 billion. The government now at this time is reporting again with $4 billion, the foreign direct investment. I think the foreign direct investment become a challenge for the government because of the situation of the country. I think all over you cannot go and work and invest so that you can achieve what you want to achieve in the investment activities. And it is very crucial for the countries. It affects also the balance of payments, how the government is going to deal, that is part of his work, but we signal these pointers. He has to do whatever he wants to do in his power. So this foreign direct investment is very crucial, and it stays stable with almost stops in $4 billion, which is very much less. If you remember with the remittance, this year it approached to $7 billion. Remittance is greater than foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment must be the most important variable for the contribution of the country's growth and development. So exchange rate, which is 36.5% depreciation, which is in 2021 and 2022, and it is, I didn't include this year, it is most depreciated 3 times this value. So it definitely affects the balance of payment. No question about that one. Diagnosis test summaries and the results that these tests was conducted, unit retest, configurations, autocorrelations. The correlation between the variables, heteroscedasticities, have been done, and the results was achieved, as you can see from the graph, and the implications and the interpretations from this is the unit retest validates, so we can run the ARDL test. Configuration confirms longer relationships, and with that of autocorrelations, there is reliable estimates, and heteroscedasticity is telling us the model is a robust model. And with that of ARDL model, and with these variables, balance of trade for indirect investment, exchange rate, and GDP, and the coefficients, as you can see from it is achieved with the balance of trade with the positive result, a very less result with a very less contribution, that means, and with that of the balance of payment, balance of trade, and for indirect investment, also a very less result with influence on balance of payment exchange rates. As I've mentioned earlier, it is a negative effect, a very huge negative effect. This is 1 year's back data. If you add this year's data, 3 times negative effect, it will show. So GDP, positive contribution, but less contribution, as you can see from the result. Implications, balance of trade, it is as a trade surplus improves balance of payment. For indirect investment, boosts balance of payment via exporters. This, if this 1 year data is added, export, they are telling us it is, very huge increment. So this will contribute a lot. So exchange rate, depreciation, harms balance of payment. GDP shows insignificant growth, no export rate. That means, that is the implication that we can read from this. So as you can see from the equation, balance of payments with the coefficients, with balance of trade for indirect investment, and there is a negative contribution with that of the exchange rate and that of GDP. Short-term dynamics with error correction model results, and it shows 2.876, that is 287% annual adjustment speed for the fast recovery from the shocks for that given model. And key short-run drivers, balance of trade for indirect investment, exchange rate, as it is indicated in the result. The trade improvements help us quickly, and for indirect investment inflows stabilize a balance of payments, and there is exchange rate depreciation, worsen deficits. And with that of the model fitness, which is measured by R square, and it shows 19.1% that the model fits, and those variables can explain the dependent variables, 90%. And F statistics shows 32.18 with the p-value 0. Model is highly significant, and that means R square is 90.1, which is 9.9%. There is unobserved factors, unobserved, unconsidered variables that it shows. And it could be that, like I've said, remittances could be, and global shocks, and some pointers must be considered. Conclusions, key takeaways, what we take, and balance of trade and foreign direct investment as most critical for balance of payment stability. As we conclude from this research, exchange rate depreciation harms. It will harm. If you ask most economists, the prediction is telling that now the birr still depreciates. It goes down and down. In government banks, it is 140, and in private exchange rate, 150. In black market, it reaches to 170, and it goes on. If it goes on, then it will harm the economy. So this exchange rate, we need to signal the government. It has to be taken as a precaution variable. GDP growth, not yet beneficial, so as it shows. So there is a lot of work that we expect from the government. Policy focus, there is trade reforms, FDI, exchange rate stabilities. On these issues, I think the government is trying to do what he expected to do. A lot of, regulations and rules. Every day it is introduced in the market, in the system. They are trying to do, and I think to see the effect, it will take 3 to 5 years. As it is indicated. Policy recommendations, there must be export reindustrializations and diversity exporters, textiles and agro-processing, and big manufacturing industries must be installed for indirect investment attractions. For this, there must be peace and security must be stabilized. That will take also more time. We will see in the future that one also, but we are signaling this is a very most crucial variable for indirect investment. Even because of agua, foreign investors are leaving the country. And with that of, I think, last 15 days, with the Benishangul area, more than 15 investors left because of the insecurity that is occurred at that area. So a lot of issues regarding with investment issues. So we need to signal to that one. And exchange rate management, still the birr is not stabilized. It is, the government saying that it is a foreign exchange rate is floating, but is it floating? It is questionable, you know, because the market is not a stable market. As economists, when we try to address our students, the economic system in our country, the system is not fit. You know, there are a lot of things must be done. The market is not, there is a lot of conspiracies and different things. For that matter, a lot of work need to be done, and there is important substitutions, boost local productions. Fertilizer, that is a good thing. We heard that the government is, with the big investor Dangote, they will implement in Afar region. That is a good thing. With that of connected with the natural gas, I think, and pharmaceuticals, with the big manufacturing, these things must be done. So things will be improved in the future. We have to be optimistic, but this is the policy recommendations. Limitation, excluding remittance. Remittance is a very important variable, so it must be included for future research, and did not account for global commodity shocks. It has to be considered these things, and for future work include political stability index, a very important thing. It must be included for future research so that it will strengthen the quality of the research and using structural VAR for shock analysis. And this is my research in brief. Precise. Thank you very much.
To Dr. Yones, again, another critical issue, balance of payment. My issue is, what's the rationale to include GDP as part of the variable? As you know, a higher GDP does not guarantee automatically a positive balance of payment. We can see the case of the United States, the UK, India, countries with high GDP and yet a negative trade deficit. So that's the rationale to include GDP while lifting out remittances, you mentioned. Thank you.
The first question is about why you include GDP, because it is not that much important in your model, but I accept as a comment. That is a good comment. Even if in my research it is approached with insignificant result that I get, but you know GDP shows with a lot of it the country's output, and not including it may what can I say? It is better to see and including, because balance of payment is a macro issue. GDP is a macro issue, and if it is included, I prefer to include it. But as a comment, I will take it as a comment, and I will include in the future that including with the best relevant variables. Okay, that is a good comment. And without of reliability data using 1 year back. I just mentioned, Dr. Musraku, that I take it as a compliment. That is a very good issue, and I will definitely update this result. But 1 year, not that much to see the effects. Okay, but I will definitely update it. I will update it.